Say yes to new beginnings.
Yes.
Say yes to new standards of excellence.
Yes.
Say yes to engaging reportage with a difference.
Yes.
Introducing Yes International Magazine.
You used to work at Wando, Forte Oil, etc., etc. Why did you eventually decide to be your own boss? What prompted it? What triggered it?
Okay, so one of the reasons is very, very silly.
Okay.
I have worked with Wale Tinubu and admire the kind of thing he does.
Okay.
And I think I was 33 when I was pushed to be head of comms for Fort Oil. And I thought Wale Tinubu and Boyo were about 34 when they started the business. So I thought at that age, it must be a miracle age to start a business. So I just jumped and said, look, let this time not pass. Let me quickly join. So around that age, I thought it's time for me to just start the business. So it wasn't really deep, but I was also convinced that I was capable of consulting beyond oil and gas. I was capable of consulting for finance, to tech, to aviation, and that just staying in oil and gas, I felt very restricted because sometimes you speak and they say, oh, you're already in oil and gas, and that was very annoying. And because I knew I could solve the problem that was in front of me. So I said to myself, I'm going to get into this space and consult for everybody. So my first clients, I didn't want them to be oil and gas. I wanted them to be finance. I wanted them to be tech. So I got those Go-Kada, finance were my tech, and this were my first set of clients. So that was very satisfying because, again, that conviction that I could do beyond oil and gas then became realistic.
So why are most young men, reluctant or scared of plunging into entrepreneurship?
When you look at the profile of Nigerian business people, I think that might not be true. Because, look at the fintech. The average age of entrepreneurs in that space is in maybe 27, 29, right? And these guys are disrupting established markets. They are disrupting banking with billions and trillions in asset base, right? So I don't think young people are scared to get into that space. But I think that there is a whole need for learning, for understanding the industry, so that your solutions are entrenched in experience and depth of knowledge of what you are doing.
So what has been the biggest lesson, that you've learned about entrepreneurship, since setting up shop?
To count money differently. So right now, when I'm speaking to somebody and the guy mentioned what looks like a huge amount of money, that money might be in my account and I'm still feeling extremely broke. Because business will wipe every money in your account in 1 month. So in those days when I had a quarter of those kind of amount, I will start splurging. Right now I have what some people will think is big money, and I will still not be able to spend 50K because I just feel like I have salary to pay, I have tax to pay, I have obligations, I have business development, I have a whole lot. I have stakeholder management that requires money. So every time I count those monies, they're just never enough. So I will come to understand that revenue earning is different from your bottom line where you make profit. So the biggest learning for me in business is to count money differently.
What is the commonest mistake that any new entrepreneur can make?
Overconfidence. you can get into a place and disrupt it. But the truth is that behind you, there are also disruptors. So if you disrupt, there are people who are going to disrupt you. I mean, at one point we thought the only institution that disruption describes was GTB. But we've seen people like Flutterwave and this new fintech disrupt the disruptors. So for us, any idea that disrupted is an old idea. Even if it was done about 10 minutes ago, it's now an old idea.
Okay.
So that is why on March 1st, I think, either March 1st, March 1st, the discussion on PR was not on internet, it was on metaverse. Something that is yet to happen, but we know that it's imminent. So our thinking is, what will happen in metaverse? I don't want someone to come out in metaverse and disrupt PR, and I have no idea, right? PR also is no longer what it used to be. PR used to be in those days about media relations. PR is far now into more of consumer mind management, right? Before, all I needed to do was to be your friend, and I know that my client is protected. But you are no longer the media editors and the gatekeepers are no longer the biggest threat to reputation. It is anybody with 500 naira data, with a Palasa phone that can connect to internet, and a voice who criticize or take on your brand, and they will bring you down to your knees. So we have to understand that PR has completely changed and it's completely evolving. Beyond that, PR is embracing marketing more than we've ever seen before. There's a study done by 1,500 professional students and researchers, led by Paul Holmes, a veteran, and University of Southern California. And what they've realized is that within the next 10 years, we won't be able to distinguish PR from marketing. Content for PR before has to be pitched. They are thinking content for PR may now be paid. The way creative agency will have to buy advert space and put out adverts. We have to then bring our thinking, because those thinking are now a body of narrative that distinguishes a brand, and you don't want an editor or anybody to tinker with it through editing. So we might have to buy spaces. Now, this thinking were different in about 4 years ago. So PR on its own is changing. At what point PR was going towards specialization. Now PR is going towards convergence. But you don't have to be everything. So you are using collaborations, right? And we were working with some guys who are into alternative marketing yesterday, and we are thinking of how can we look at alternative market and PR such a way that we can evade the mind of the consumer on behalf of our clients. So PR has gone beyond putting stuff in the media or getting editorial spaces. PR now is about gaining the consumer mind space. So if you are concentrating on getting into editorial space, you want front page, you are in 1980, man. So you can't be comfortable doing any form of business. You can't be overconfident. You have to consistently be evolving.